Hey, it's time for Steve's midweek shout out. Good to come to you here in the middle of the week. I hope you're having a blessed week. I have a question for you. My question for you is, are you energetically engaged in your work for God? Are you excited about your work for God? I was reading a passage this past week from John's Gospel where the people were arguing back and forth about how did this blind person become blind? Did the sins of their parents force them to become blind, or was there some other circumstance that forced the man to become blind? And Jesus said to them, "You're asking the wrong questions. Don't get tied up in who did this and who did that." He said, instead, he said, be amazed at what God can do. And then he said, be energetically at work for the one who sent him. In other words, be energetically engaged for God who sent Jesus. And I love that phrase, be energetically engaged for God, because I think Jesus is right. Sometimes we get caught up in arguing with one another about who's right, who's wrong, especially in this political climate we're in right now, instead of focusing on what does it mean to be energetically engaged for God. And for me, that means doing God's work in the middle of your life. You know, I think sometimes our kids know how to do this. I had a wonderful conversation with one of our young people here at Columbine, and they talked about the fact that they had a young friend who was really struggling with life, and they wanted to do everything they could to support this person and lift this person up and show them a hopeful existence. And I thought to myself, look at this high school person. They have it down implicitly about how to be supportive of one another. So think about your own self. How can you be energetically engaged for God's work this coming week? In other words, who do you know that needs to be uplifted? Who do you know that needs to be inspired? How can you be energetically engaged with this person's life to lift them? Who do you know that needs to be forgiven? Maybe you need to forgive yourself. How can you be energetically engaged in God's work doing these things for you? You know, there's so many opportunities I believe that we can use in our day-to-day lives to be at God's work. And that's the great opportunity. It's also the great challenge. Every day to be energetically engaged for God's work. So there's my message for you here in the middle of the week. I hope you're having a great week. As I always say, you can be engaged with Columbine and all the different social media platforms that we're using here at the church. You can also live stream us on Sunday morning, and hopefully you come to church and engage us face to face. Have a great week. It's good to come to you.